What is up everyone? Welcome back to another video today, and in this video I have another air service history video for you guys. Today we'll be looking at the history of our air service to and from Denver. Without further ado, let's get into it. Denver's airport history is quite fascinating, as the current airport we have today has only been around for nearly 30 years. It may sound like a lot, but in the 100+ years of aviation in the US, it's a fairly small chunk yet. Originally, this was the main airport for Denver, known as Denver Stapleton Airport. It opened all the way back in 1929. It gained the Stapleton name in honor of a former mayor who had served as such in the area for a number of years. Over time, the airport continued to grow and grow and grow some more, as new airlines made their way in and larger jets began to arrive into Stapleton. Simultaneously, the city of Denver was growing too. In the post-deregulation era, Continental, Frontier, United, and Western designated Denver as a hub for their respective operations. Western didn't last long, however, as they moved most of their operations to Salt Lake City in the 1980s. By that decade, Stapleton was becoming obsolete, as neighborhoods surrounded the massive airport. Noise complaints and lack of space were hindering the airport's ability to grow. Despite that, and development of the new Denver International Airport well underway, Concourse E opened at Stapleton in 1988 to best accommodate the current demand. What's more interesting is that construction for the new Denver International Airport began the following year. After several delays, the new Denver International Airport would finally open on February 28, 1995, replacing Stapleton as the main airport for the Mile High City. Over the years, its land was redeveloped into a neighborhood which kept the Stapleton name, but was changed to Central Park in 2020, not to be confused with the massive park in Manhattan. Today, about 30,000 people live in the former airport neighborhood. Heading back to Sioux Falls, the first documentation I could find of our Denver Nonstop was in 1955, when Western Airlines began service to Sioux Falls. In addition to their Denver Nonstop, travelers could also fly direct on Western to Minneapolis and Pierre, South Dakota. Going on the latter would take travelers along a sequence of cities between Minneapolis and Salt Lake City. Western became a staple of the Denver Nonstop for the next 20+ years, starting off with the Douglas DC-3 and Convair 240 before upgrading the aircraft to DC-6 and Lockheed L-188 Electras into the 1960s. Jet aircraft began to work their way through the Western network towards the end of the decade and into the 1970s, using a mixture of Boeing 727s and 737s, and even the Boeing 720B for a short time. For those that may be unfamiliar with the Boeing 720, it's essentially a shortened 707. Around 150 units were built and sold to various airlines, most of them within the United States. Western operated the 720 through much of the 60s and into the early part of the 70s. After this stint with the 720, Western went back to the 727 and 737 for their operations into Sioux Falls. Jumping ahead into the 1980s, we'll notice a handful of changes, as with other previous air routes. First, Ozark Airlines briefly operated the Denver Nonstop. It began sometime in 1981 before being discontinued by the following year. That same year, Frontier Airlines entered the mix, utilizing the hard-to-find in 1:400 scale Boeing 737-200 with a Sawbass livery. Next, Western discontinued the Denver Nonstop at the start of 1982. However, the city was still accessible from Sioux Falls via a 2-stop service to Pierre and Rapid City. By the next year, these segments led to lands beyond the Rocky Mountains, as Western had consolidated most of their operations into their hub in Salt Lake City, so the Denver service on Western was discontinued. On a more positive note, a new airline would enter the Sioux Falls market, that being United Airlines, who began service to the city in September of 1982 from their Denver and Chicago hubs. United initially operated the Boeing 727, later mixing in the 737-200 from time to time, especially from their Chicago hub. From there, United would be the one to choose if you were going from Sioux Falls to Denver, since United had established a hub at Stapleton Airport. Frontier Airlines would shut down in 1986, marking the end of their brief run in Sioux Falls. The addition of the United Boeing 737-300 and of United Express marked a couple of highlights during the 1990s. Then, in 1995, you have the closure of Stapleton and the opening of the new Denver International Airport. In 2001, the same year that United retired the 727 from their fleet, United Mainline left Sioux Falls, leaving United Express as the sole carrier between the two cities. 6 years later, however, United Mainline returned, utilizing the Boeing 737-300 and an occasional 737-500. From there, United have constantly swapped between aircraft, adding in the Airbus A319, A320, and Boeing 737-800 and Boeing 737-900 to the service through the 2010s and 2020s. Skipping back to July of 2011, we see the return of Frontier Airlines to Sioux Falls. This new iteration of Frontier initially operated Embraer 190s on the route before switching to the Airbus A320 family. Today, the A320neos are a bit more common, with occasional A321s and A321neos sprinkled in. As of 2024, United and Frontier are the main operators of the Denver Nonstop, with no plans for a new carrier on the service for now. I'm hopeful Southwest will join the brigade in the future. And that will do it for this air service history video. The next video of this subject will focus on Chicago O'Hare, set to come out sometime this summer, as there's lots of great history along that route as well. In the long term, I hope to focus more broadly on specific airlines and their destinations out of Sioux Falls to keep this part of Retro FSD going. With that being said, that is the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.